Hi, and welcome back to our very first episode of Deadly Serenades. I know I've been on a long break, but I'll just say bear with me or forgive me for taking such a long break. But we are back, and today I'm going to be talking about a case that I chose simply because of what has been happening recently, especially this year. From January up to now, there has been several cases similar to this one. So I chose this one because somehow it's something a lot of people would relate to, and I think it's going to help some people to make good choices. I am hoping it does, actually. Trigger one in this case contains talks of domestic violence, stalking, murder, and physical abuse. So it might be distressing to survivors of domestic violence or people who find topics like this just sensitive. So, listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about this case because it had me all over the place emotionally, actually. So, I'd like to hear your opinion in the comment section. Please, thank you. We know that monsters differs, and some are just actual monsters, some are humans. We're going to be talking about one that is the latter kind of monster today. They don't come off as monsters, they don't come off as a scary person. They are just like you and me. They promise to love their partners, their family members, they promise to care for them, they stay with them for a long while. They are always there for them. But when the marks on their face eventually falls off, that is when you actually see what lies beneath it. Clough was a victim of a monster like this, and too bad she's not alive to tell her story today. So who was Clough? Let's talk about that. Clough was a nurse whose compassion saved many lives. But her compassion was not big enough to save ours. She grew up in Nelson, Lancashire, one of the small English towns where everybody knows everybody. So pretty much everyone knew who Jane was. From time when she was just little, she was just different. Her mom, Penny, said Jane has always had this natural instinct to just protect and care for others. So when she decided she was going to become a nurse, it was not a surprise. By 2007, at just 22, Jane started working in the A&F department of the Blackwood Victoria Hospital. And let me tell you, she wasn't just another nurse. Her colleague said she had this magical ability to walk into a room and make everything feel manageable. Even in the chaos of emergency medicine, patients would literally light up the moment they see Jane. They just loved her. So being that Jane was almost in the hospital every time of her life, it was not a surprise when she finally met someone she likes in the same hospital setting, Jonathan Vass. In early 2008, Jane met Jonathan Vass in the hospital, and he was just hired as an ambulance technician. He was tall, fit, charming, nice, but that was all on paper. He seemed like the perfect fit for Jane. She felt like another healthcare professional who understood the demands of her job. She just felt like, yeah, it was the perfect guy. But here is where things started getting weird. Jane's colleague, they had these weird feelings about Jonathan. One of our colleagues later said he was off. The way he joked about patients, the way his eyes would follow all the female staffs or some female staffs. Nothing you could put your finger on exactly, but enough to make your skin crawl. These whispers actually never reached Jane though, because to her, he was the perfect guy. And 4 months into their relationship, okay, this is crazy. 4 months into their relationship, just casually, Jonathan goes on to tell Jane that he's married with 2 kids. I mean, you would think that at that moment, Jane was going to walk. But before she could even comprehend what was going on, he started spinning another web of lies. He said his marriage was over, his wife has been unfaithful, and he was in the process of divorcing her. So she should just like hold on a bit for the divorce to be official. And Jane, being who she was, she believed him, but every word was a lie. I mean, Jonathan's wife was her own, taking care of their 2 kids, and their marriage was what seemed to be perfect. Well, after he told her he was married and Jane believed him, they moved in together. I'm sorry, but I don't know why she would do that. Probably because I'm an African woman, though that doesn't matter. But then they moved in together, and that was when Jonathan's true self began to emerge. It all started with just jealousy, small side talks about her male colleagues, needing to know where she was at all times, and then it's graduated into stalking. He started following her, driving behind her, watching her through windows, even at work. As if that was not enough, the violence began. The first time he hit her, he cried afterwards, begged for forgiveness, swore it would never happen again. But as always, it did happen again and again and again. He would slap her, leaving bruises she covered up with makeup. He threw her against walls, dragged her by her hair, and each incident was worse than the last. You know, a lot of people ask anyone that finds themselves in a very, very abusive relationship, why don't you leave? It's just that they're missing. You asking them this question means you are missing something fundamental. When you meet an abuser, you're not meeting the monster. You don't meet the person they really are first. That is not where you meet first. You are meeting the marks they wear. By the time the marks finally slips off, you're already trapped. There is no way to escape. It's either you're escaping with your life or in a body bag. I'm sorry to say, but it's one of the two. Only few manage to get out of it early. Let's just continue. In January of 2009, Jane discovered she was pregnant, and I believe the news brought mixed emotions for her. Joy at becoming a mother, and terror at being bound to Jonathan forever because now she has a kid for him. But she hoped that maybe a baby would change him. So in November of 2009, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Evie. For the shortest moments, Jane probably allowed herself to hope that things would be different, but they weren't. Jonathan's abuse only intensified. He became jealous of Jane's relationship with their own daughter. He got enraged every time Jane paid more attention to baby Evie than to him. There is a point you get to and then you feel like, I can't take this anymore. That point for Jane was in July of 2010. She finally found the courage to report Jonathan to the police. She detailed years of abuse and SA, providing evidence that led to his arrest. He was charged with 9 counts of rape. Oh, that. Like, remember that. 9 counts of rape, 4 counts of assault by beating, and 1 count of common assault. This should have been the beginning of Jane's journey to safety. You feel like, okay, she's reported him to the authorities. They will do something about it, and she was going to be safe with baby Evie. Instead, it was the beginning to the journey of her end. Despite the severity of the charges, despite Jane explicitly saying that she feared for her life, that this guy might kill me one day, he might wake up and kill me, he might kill my baby, she actually made sure that the police understood how much she feared for her life. Jonathan Vass was still granted bail despite all of this. Despite appeal, they still granted Jonathan Vass bail. Let that sink. The system failed Jane at this point because a man charged with multiple violent crimes against the mother of his child was allowed to walk free without awaiting trial, without even going to trial. Jane was terrified. She told everyone who would listen to her parents, her colleague, the police, her friends. She told everyone that one day, this guy is going to kill me. She told everyone. I mean, no one with the power to act, no one with the power to do something actually listened enough to Jane. On the 25th of July 2010, Jane was just finishing a late night shift at the hospital. As she walked towards her car in the staff parking lot, Jonathan stepped from between two parked vehicles. He had been waiting for hours with a kitchen knife. The attack was brutal. He stabbed Jane 71 times before slitting her throat. A security guard found her moments later, but it was too late. Jane was pronounced dead at the same hospital where she had helped to save many lives. And she was just 26 years old, with her whole life ahead of her. When police arrested Jonathan, he showed no remorse. He just kept saying, "I'm not going to prison for a crime I didn't commit." He was referring to the rape charges. The irony, because he was being arrested for murder. I mean, that flew over his head. He felt like he could have gotten away with murder. But he got arrested. And Jane's parents, Penny and John, they transformed their grief into action, because if they had the power to do something when their daughter was telling them that this guy is going to kill me, probably their daughter would still be alive. So they campaigned for bail reform, which led to a law that now exists in the UK called Jane's Law, a legislation giving prosecutors the right to appeal against bail decisions in violent or sexual crime cases. Jonathan Vass was eventually sentenced to life with a minimum of 30 years. He never stood trial for the rape and assault Jane had reported. I mean, I do have a lot of different emotions about this case, because I just can't wrap my head around how the system failed us so badly. But coming from somebody that lives in a country with a failed system, and I've seen a lot of injustice in the case of domestic violence alone in this year, I'm talking about 10 cases. I don't know how to feel, honestly. The system seems like it's almost the same everywhere, even in a country where you think the system works. Because Jane did everything right. She reported her abuser, she provided evidence, she even expressed her fears. She told them, this guy is going to kill me one day. But she still ended up being unalived by the same person she was trying to escape from. Honestly, I feel really, really bad about this. And I think me starting back my podcast with this is going to probably leave me in a state at the end of this. But I don't know. I just want to know what you all think. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, especially those living in Nigeria, because we all know how many cases of domestic violence we've seen in the last 5 months alone. I'm not talking about the previous years. Between January to May of 2025, we know how many cases of domestic violence we've seen. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. This is Deadly Serenade, and I want to say thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next episode. Until then, stay safe.